Hello, my name is Vasanta. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a Vedic astrologer, and today in this video we're going to be speaking about crash course guide to surviving the December eclipse that we're going to be having. It's going to be a very explosive month due to the presence of planet Mars in Scorpio, and it's going to be conjuncting planet Ketu, the planet of past karma and stored up karma. So there is many issues that are going to be coming up. I'm going to be analyzing them and telling you strategies how to better deal and better cope with the month to come. So now, with no further ado, let's go back into the studio and let's revise this information so that you can be ready and prepared, and of course bring understanding and well-being to your family. Thank you for watching, and please remember to leave a comment, a like, or a subscribe. It helps us a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you and cheers. So this is my little studio where I film all the YouTube videos. Let's go inside. So as a preparation, it's important to understand what's going on in Scorpio. And in Vedic astrology, also Western astrology, we know that when there's a lot of planets in one house, the house becomes energized and combust. So in this case, what we are seeing here is that the domain of Scorpio, which is a very intense and very internal sign, a sign that speaks to us about change, transformation, revolution, is going to be overloaded. Especially overloaded in the first degrees, because all the planets go through there. So the sun's going to be activating it during the month, and also Mars is going to come in there. So it's going to be very intense in the sign of Scorpio. Now, the reason why it's being so intense and the intensity is magnifying is because the south node of the moon is already there, which is the past life karma that is trying to boil up into the surface, what we're dealing with right now. So if you see now, what's happening is we are coming out of the pandemic, and we are starting to see in the world that people are starting to make manifestations and riots all around the world, opposing the governmental restrictions. So whereas, Saturn's still very strong in Capricorn over here in the body of government, in the green section of the pyramid, all the emotional unrest in the psychological level of the human being, which is the unconscious forces that are rising up, there is going to be general discontent in the populations. So what we can see is, of course, there's going to be, we can predict that there's going to be a few conflicts within national states or protectorates. I think especially Taiwan and Ukraine are going to be in the spotlight, and of course the immigrant crisis around the world is going to be there. But furthermore, I think there's a lot to do with people manifesting for the right for freedom. So people are going to want a new system, and I think it's going to set forward a chain reaction. Also, if you remember, during this month, there is a continuation of the movie The Matrix, and no wonder, it's on the 22nd of December, so Scorpio is still going to be very intense, and it's called Resurrection. So already the Matrix program of the world is throwing out these elements. I think it's going to set forward the next generation for what is to come. I think socially what we're going to see during this time, which is a bottleneck of condensation of emotion, is going to set the tone for the years to come, really. So the tendencies that we're having this month and that must be checked are attraction to crisis situations. So we're definitely going to be having crises, and we're going to see that there's many people that get attracted to it, right? Public manifestations, and especially because people are getting tired of lockdowns and being at home. So I think there's going to be a lot of social unrest while the planet's conjunct. There's a lot of this going on at the end of November, but as we go into December, it's going to aggravate. Then there's over concern with other people, with other people's business. So again, trying to be over concerned who's getting the vaccine, who's not, who's doing this, who's doing that. You gotta check on it. It's just that energy of revolution boiling up in people. Then there's impatience, of course, which is the aggravation of having being checked by Saturn in Capricorn and Jupiter in Capricorn for so long. So people are going to feel that the restriction time is over, and it should be over. However, we must be patient with the process. As Jupiter gains strength in Aquarius, I think the waves of COVID are going to get more and more, subdued around the world. It is a wave, but it'll definitely subside if we go forward. A tendency to feel judgmental over the activities of the government. There's an over concern with other people's way of thinking or what they're doing. So this is going to reflect in the panorama that I think we're going to be concerned about what other countries are doing. So I think we're not going to judge locally. We're going to be judging based on what our neighbor is doing, and that could lead eventually to conflict. We are going to have a few armed conflicts, or potentials for armed conflicts. I don't expect it to erupt during December, but there's going to be various standoffs, and I expect it around April of next year. That's I think when it's going to erupt, especially Taiwan. There's going to be a resistance to cooperate with other people. So, both Ukraine, Taiwan, Russia, Belarus, if you see what's going on in the panorama in the world, there's some, the stage is being set for a lot of pressure and conflicting points of view to come into play. So, you can expect some type of standoff. And, in the local family, of course, in your life with clients, with family, there's a general overtone of impatience when it comes to getting results. There's emotions are very volatile because some people are feeling that they're not being heard or understood. So that is always something to put attention to, right? And the overreaction of that, what that could cause. The extreme overreaction in anger or wanting to destroy something in order to bring about change. So there's a lot of tendency for obsessive compulsive behaviors during this month. There is a tendency of seeking validation through other people, so you can expect massive gatherings or people manifesting their discontent in the masses. But it's really trying to be heard personally, what we have to say, what we have stuck emotionally, which is a lot of frustration by this point of being kept, our freedoms have been kept because of the pandemic. So I think also economical factors are going to come into play. The tendency to judge people based on the barriers they might have, personal barriers, etc. So overall, a very passionate month. The general population, again, will want to regain power over their freedom, and it'll politically manifest as Ukraine, Taiwan. I think at the moment, during this month, to cut the arguments, I think the remedy and the solution will be to seek in what way we can make a partnership with shared values where both parties are heard. And where both parties or both people get what they want. But of course, this entails us to get into the negotiating table. Last month was more for negotiations, so there was an energy of dialogue since most of the planets were combust in Libra. But in this month, it's going to be very volatile. So the number one advice I have for you is be careful to offend people that, any type of person or any type of living entity. Be careful with the offenses or with riots that are out of the question, with overreactions that don't have to be there, because it could lead you to very regrettable outcomes. So there's a lot of force. I think in the end of the day, it'll be positive. It's the narrative of the phoenix that dies to rise again from the ashes. So I think it's the first tendencies that the overall psychology of people are, bringing up to remind the government that even though, some policies are there that are effective and good, some others have to change. So eventually all of this leads to a revolution, and, whenever something old dies, something new has to come from it. So There is a tendency to let go of that which is no longer useful for us in order to bring about the new and the healthy. So it's like shedding a skin, or going into a very deep journey to, like in the example of Perseus, he went down to the caverns and he had to kill Medusa in order to bring out, some positive aspect of life force. So it's a bit of a rebirth. And we will see how in the movie The Matrix that's going to play out, because that's the way that, somehow the universe is playing that card out in our consciousness. So it's about change and resurrection in this month. So you try to understand this, that it is a very deep-rooted karma that needs to be processed. And, in a way, there's no stopping it. Those forces are rising. It is a subconscious force in the collective of consciousness. But it is up to you to decide in what way you want to go about those emotions. And remember that intensity and, force of emotion doesn't necessarily need to be negative. It can also be very inspiring and very encouraging. So I think the key word for the month is encouragement for others. So try to use your force to encourage the union, to encourage positive outcome, to encourage an outcome where we can all feel good, where we belong. So overall, a very volatile month. Now, if we go back to the calendar, we will analyze day by day what's going to be happening.